The plasma bolt seared through David's shoulder, spinning him around as he crashed behind the crystalline barricade. His rifle clattered across the obsidian floor of the Zephyrian palace, but his arms remained wrapped protectively around 7-year-old Princess Mino. The little girl's violet eyes were wide with terror, her silvery skin pale against the dark tactical vest David had thrown over her small frame. "Stay down, Princess," David whispered through gritted teeth, his voice steady despite the burning pain that radiated down his arm. Blood seeped through his combat armor, but his grip on her remained firm. "Just like we practiced." The Corvani. Death Squad had breached the palace defenses faster than anyone had anticipated. These weren't ordinary raiders. They were the galaxy's most feared assassins, beings whose very presence could induce paralysis in most sentient species through their psychic emanations. Their chittering war cries echoed through the throne room as they methodically advanced, their multiple eyes scanning for their primary target. David Chen was just a human, a supposedly inferior species from a backwater planet that most galactic civilizations barely acknowledged. He'd been assigned to the Zephyrian Royal Guard as part of a cultural exchange program, more for diplomatic appearances than any real expectation of effectiveness. The other guards were Zephyrian elites, beings whose natural abilities far exceeded anything humans could offer. But the other guards were dead now. The Corvani psychic assault had dropped them instantly, their minds overwhelmed by alien terror. Only David remained conscious, his peculiarly human brain somehow resistant to the psychic onslaught that had felled beings twice his size and strength. "Ugly human," one of the Corvani hissed in galactic standard, its voice like grinding metal. "Your mind is strange, no matter. You die with the princess." 3 more plasma bolts scorched the air above their hiding spot. David could feel the heat through his helmet. Princess Mino trembled against his chest, but she didn't cry. She'd been trained well, despite her young age. Her people valued courage, above all else, even in their children. David's tactical display showed 17 Corvani closing in from multiple vectors. His ammunition counter blinked red, 3 shots remaining. By all military doctrine, this was an impossible situation. No human had ever successfully engaged a Corvani death squad and survived, let alone protected someone while doing it. But David had spent his childhood hunting in the Montana wilderness with his grandfather, learning patience and precision that no advanced alien civilization had ever needed to develop. While other species relied on superior technology and innate abilities, humans had learned to make do with less, to think creatively, to adapt, to find solutions where none should exist. He shifted his weight, wincing as the movement sent fresh waves of pain through his shoulder. His rifle's scope had been damaged in the fall, but David had learned to shoot by instinct long before he'd ever seen alien technology. He could hear them moving, 17 different sets of footsteps, each with its own rhythm and pattern. "Princess," he whispered, "when I move, you run to the emergency beacon behind your mother's throne. Don't look back." The little girl nodded solemnly, her violet eyes meeting his with a trust that made his chest tight. In her expression, he saw something that reminded him of his younger sister back on Earth. The same stubborn determination, the same refusal to surrender to fear. David rolled out from behind the barricade, his rifle already tracking toward the first Corvani. The alien's psychic assault hit him like a physical blow, filling his mind with images of death and despair. But David had grown up with anxiety and depression. He'd learned long ago how to function despite the darkness in his head. He squeezed the trigger. The first shot took down the squad leader. The second eliminated their heavy weapons specialist. As the remaining Corvani scrambled to respond to this impossible human, who seemed immune to their greatest weapon, David's third and final shot disabled their communications array. Then his rifle clicked empty. But 17 had become 14, and 14 had become confused and angry. David drew his sidearm and his combat knife, falling back on the close-quarters training that had seemed almost primitive compared to alien warfare techniques. Yet as the Corvani closed in, David found himself moving with the fluid efficiency his instructors had drilled into him. Humans, it turned out, were very good at fighting when cornered. The battle lasted 97 seconds by David's chronometer. When the last Corvani fell, David collapsed beside the emergency beacon, his armor cracked and bloodied but alive. Princess Mino had reached safety behind the throne, just as he'd instructed. And then the air shimmered, and Empress Zaira materialized in the throne room. The Zephyrian ruler was a figure of terrible beauty, her skin gleaming like liquid mercury, her eyes blazing with fury that could have melted starship hulls. She was also one of the most powerful psychic entities in known space, capable of folding space-time to travel instantly across galactic distances. But as her gaze fell upon David, this wounded human who had somehow accomplished what an entire squad of elite Zephyrian guards could not, her expression softened into something approaching wonder. "Mino," she called, and the little princess ran into her mother's arms. "The human saved me, Mother," Mino said simply. "The ugly ones tried to take me, but David wouldn't let them." Empress Zaira approached the injured human, who was struggling to remain conscious. She knelt beside him, her psychic abilities probing his mind and finding something she had never encountered before. Here was a consciousness that wasn't stronger than others, but somehow more resilient. A mind that had learned to endure, to adapt, to find hope in hopelessness. "You have given me the most precious gift in the universe," she said softly. "What would you ask in return?" David looked up at her with fading vision, then at Princess Mino, who was watching him with those serious violet eyes. Just let me write to my sister back home. Tell her that her big brother did something that mattered." As consciousness finally left him, David heard the Empress whisper something in her ancient language. Later, he would learn it meant, "honored protector of the innocent." But in that moment, bleeding on an alien floor light years from Earth, David Chen had already received the only reward he needed, the knowledge that sometimes being human was enough.